The Hunger Within. As the party makes their way through the dense, shadowy forest, a hunger starts gnawing inside User. The hunger isn't like anything he has felt before. No amount of food seems to quell the growing, dark need. Each step forward feels heavier, like a burden pressing down on his chest. Do you want some more bread? Anna asks, her voice breaking the silence. She's been watching User as the party walks through an open area with tall grass, her eyes sharp but gentle. User glances at the loaf she offers and shakes his head. No, I'm not hungry, he lies, his voice strained. The truth is, the hunger is always there now, lurking beneath the surface. Anna frowns but says nothing. Instead, she pulls her cloak tighter around her shoulders and shifts her gaze towards the surrounding hills, her brow furrowing in thought. As the journey wears on, the tension around the party becomes palpable. The others notice User's unease, his constant pacing, the way his hand keeps drifting to his sword as if he's readying for a fight. The broad-shouldered dwarf Strom finally speaks up. You've been acting strange since that fight with the necromancer, Strom says bluntly, his voice low but firm. You're restless. Edgy. What's going on? I'm fine, User replies quickly, too quickly. His fingers curl into a fist as he tries to push down the rising urge. It's getting worse. Strom exchanges a glance with the rogue, a wiry woman named Maddie, who raises an eyebrow. Fine? Maddie echoes, her voice filled with doubt. You've barely slept, and... Leave him alone? Anna interjects, her voice sharp. She leans forward, her eyes locking onto User's. He's just tired. He has been through a lot. But she's worried too. User can see it in the way she keeps glancing at him when she thinks he's not looking. User stands abruptly, the sudden motion catching everyone's attention. I'm going for a piss, he mutters, turning away before anyone can respond. As he steps into the forest, the hunger is growing, pulsing like a living thing inside him. The trees around him seem to whisper, their shadows dancing in the moonlight, taunting him with a quiet, haunting call. Behind him, footsteps crunch in the snow. Wait up! Anna's voice calls softly. She catches up quickly, her breath misting in the cold. I need to clear my head, User says, not looking at her. She steps in front of him, forcing him to stop. No, you need to talk to me. Something's wrong, and I can see it eating at you. What happened after the necromancer? What did he do to you? User looks away, the words stuck in his throat. He can't tell her. He can't explain it. I don't know, he whispers finally, the admission barely audible. But it's like something's changed. It's like I'm not myself anymore. Anna's eyes soften, and she places a hand on his arm. You don't have to go through this alone. We'll figure it out together, okay? I don't want to hurt anyone, User says, his voice cracking with a raw honesty that surprises even him. Anna doesn't flinch. You won't, she says firmly. We won't let it come to that. User swallows hard, his gaze drifting down to where her hand rests on his arm. For a brief moment, the hunger flares, and he feels an intense, terrifying urge to drain the life force from her. He pulls back sharply as if burned. I can't, he stammers, stepping away from her. I don't know how long I can keep this under control. Anna's eyes widen and her concern deepens, but she doesn't back down. Whatever this is, we'll get to the bottom of it. But you have to trust me. I do, User says, but the words feel hollow. He's not sure he trusts himself anymore. Back at the party, the others are waiting restlessly. Alia, the cleric, is the first to speak when User and Anna return. Is everything all right? Alia asks, her eyes flickering between the two of them. Yeah, Anna answers quickly. But Alia isn't convinced. She stands and walks over to User, her gaze sharp and assessing. I'm It's late in the afternoon as the party pushes through a particularly dense part of the forest. The trees loom overhead, their branches twisting together to form a thick canopy that blocks out the sunlight. The air is heavy, damp with the scent of moss and decaying leaves. User moves at the rear, his senses dulled by the ever-present hunger gnawing at his insides. The whispers of the forest seem distant to him until he hears a rustle in the underbrush nearby. His head snaps up, eyes narrowing. Something's not right, User mutters under his breath. Anna, walking just ahead, glances back at him. What do you mean? Before User can answer, a guttural growl cuts through the silence. The underbrush explodes with movement as a horde of small gnolls bursts out from the trees, their eyes gleaming with malice. The air fills with the sound of their growls and the metallic clink of their weapons. Ambush! Alia shouts, drawing her sword in one swift motion. The party immediately springs into action, weapons drawn, forming a defensive circle. Strom steps forward, shield raised, blocking the first swipe from a gnoll's axe. Hold the formation, he barks, his voice deep and commanding. User's sword is already in his hand, but his grip tightens involuntarily. The gnolls snarl as they charge, claws and teeth bared. They attack without hesitation, their movements wild and erratic. Maddie, the rogue, ducks under a gnoll's swinging club and drives her dagger into its side, grinning fiercely. These mutts don't know who they're dealing with. Less talking, more fighting. Strom grunts as he blocks another blow, his shield ringing out with the force of the impact. User swings his blade, slashing through the air, cutting into the gnolls that appear before him. The battle is chaotic, the ground quickly slick with blood. But as the fight rages on, something begins to shift inside User. The hunger, always there, always lurking, flares up, demanding to be fed. Anna notices how User's eyes become blank and his teeth grit. User. Anna's voice calls out from somewhere behind him, her tone sharp with urgency. Are you all right? User barely hears her. The gnolls blur together in his vision, becoming nothing more than shapes to be cut down. His senses dull, clouded by the overwhelming need to feed the hunger that gnaws at his very core. The world fades, leaving only the primal urge to destroy, to consume. A gnoll leaps at him, its claws extended, but User moves faster, his sword cutting through the creature before it can touch him. He roars, a feral sound ripping from his throat, and surges forward, cleaving through another gnoll with brutal force. User immobilizes another gnoll, pinning it to the ground. His vision is tinged with red as User, stop. Alia's voice cuts through the fog of his rage. Enough. They're retreating. But User doesn't hear her. His eyes flicker between the incapacitated gnoll and the surrounding horde fleeing past him. His sword twitches in his hand, swinging wildly at any nearby movement. Anna, seeing the change in User, races toward him, her voice desperate. User, you have to stop. It's over. Maddie, panting from her own fight, watches in shock. What's gotten into him? Strom steps forward, grabbing User's arm just as he's about to strike down the gnoll underneath him. The gnoll begs for mercy in its guttural language. That's enough, Strom growls, his grip strong and steady. For a moment, User freezes, his sword poised to strike, his chest heaving with exertion. His eyes, wild and unfocused, dart between Strom and the wounded gnoll. Slowly, the world begins to come back into focus. The sounds of battle fade, replaced by the heavy breathing of his companions. Anna places a hand on User's shoulder, her touch gentle but firm. It's over, she says softly, her eyes searching his. You're safe. User blinks, his grip loosening on the sword as the hunger subsides, leaving him feeling hollow and sick. He stumbles back, his breath ragged. Alia approaches cautiously, her hand still clutching her holy symbol. What did you do? She says quietly, her gaze locked on User. You did something to that knoll. Maddie sheathes her dagger, shaking her head. Absolute madman. What the heck happened back there? I don't know, User says, his voice weak and hoarse. I just lost control. Anna frowns, stepping closer. It's the hunger, isn't it? User doesn't respond, but the look on his face tells her she's right. Strom releases his hold on User's arm, though he keeps a watchful eye on him. Whatever this is, we need to figure it out fast, he says. We've been through a lot together, and I don't want to see harm come to you. You're a good person, User, but if there ever is a next time and you lose control and put any of us in danger, I won't hesitate to put you down. User looks up at Anna. I think I took something from one of them, User says. Anna's eyes widen in horror as she realizes what he means. You consumed its life force? She whispers, her voice barely audible. That's necromantic magic. You use necromantic magic? Alia, who had been tending to Zumax, overhears and hurries over. She takes one look at User's pale face and the lingering remnants of the life force and immediately understands. This is worse than we thought, she says gravely. The necromancer's curse isn't just affecting you superficially. It's changing you on a deeper level, allowing you to use necromantic magic. Alia looks at User with a disappointed look in her eyes. We should find a healer as soon as possible. This hunger, it's... The party gathers, their faces etched with concern. Let's leave this place before these animals reappear. Let's find a sweet spot and make camp for today. I think we all could use a break, Alia says. And that wraps up this chapter of our adventurer's journey. From unexpected knoll ambushes to a bit of necromantic mishaps, it's safe to say things are only getting more intense. Will User find a way to control the dark hunger? Or will the next ambush be more than our heroes can handle? Find out next time as the story continues. Until then, thanks for joining us and may your sword stay sharp and your life forces undrained. Stay tuned for more medieval madness.